The California Trail was an emigrant route of about 3,000 miles across the western half of North America, from the Missouri River to the West Coast. The first half of the California Trail followed the same corridor of networked river-valley trails as the Oregon and Mormon Trails to Wyoming. And there in Wyoming, the Oregon Trail went northwest to the Snake River in Idaho, and the Mormon Trail went west into Utah. The main route headed toward Fort Hall, which was established in 1836 by the Hudson Bay Company on the Snake River in Idaho. From Fort Hall, the Oregon and California trails continued together about 50 miles farther southwest along the Snake until the parting of the Ways trail junction at the junction of the Raft and Snake Rivers. The California Trail continued from the junction of the parting of the Ways to the City of Rocks in Idaho near the Nevada, Idaho, and Utah tri-point. And that's where the Mormon Trail once again joined the California Trail. Well, from the City of Rocks, the trail went into Utah, following the South Fork of Junction Creek, and from there followed a series of smaller streams like Goose Creek and Thousand Springs Creek, until approaching present-day Wells, Nevada, where they met the Humboldt River. And while they followed different routes, specifically, in general, the groups followed the Humboldt River out to California on the West Coast. Well, our Jeep group in early summer 2019 decided to drive from the parting of the Ways and follow the California Trail as far as we could west. My son and I left the house at 5:30 on the appointed morning to meet up with our group. The Jeep was packed, our new Smitty-built fridge was filled, everything packed, and off we went with our dog Ariel. Well, the wind's sure blowing. I don't know if you can hear anything I'm saying. And I don't know what the name of these mountains is. That down there is Rocky, Nevada. It's beautiful up here. The second night, our group stopped at McClendon Springs to camp, a favorite camping place of the immigrant trains as well. A rushing ice-cold spring coming out from underneath a cottonwood tree would have been very refreshing to the trail-weary travelers, just like it was to us. Well, we're heading down the highway to catch the trail at the parting of the Ways. The Trails West organization has placed markers like this one every few miles with quotes from pioneers' diaries detailing either special places or happenings. Now this is marker C1. It's the first on the California Trail. And you can see the Oregon Trail passes in front of us, and this is where the California Trail takes off on its own. Over the next few days, we'll be stopping many times to see as many of these markers as possible as we follow the historic trail out west toward California. Well, we have left paved roads behind us. Most of the rest of the way will be on dirt. Some portions will be on well-maintained county gravel roads or lesser-maintained ranch roads, and we'll be spending quite a bit of time on just plain dirt ruts, many times having to consult maps and GPS to find our way. The Silent City of Rocks, or more simply the City of Rocks, is a United States National Reserve, and it's a state park. California Trail wagon trains of the 1840s and 50s left the Raft River Valley and traveled through the area and then on over Granite Pass into Nevada. Names or initials of emigrants written in axle grease are still visible on Register Rock and Camp Rock, and ruts from wagon wheels can also be seen in some of the rocks. City of Rocks became a landmark for immigrants on the California Trail. By 1850, so many people were on the trail that it was often like a long traveling village crawling its way to California. In 1852 alone, some 52,000 people passed through this City of Rocks on their way to join the California Gold Rush. City of Rocks marked about the halfway point to California for the immigrants and their loaded wagons. With the completion of the first transcontinental railway in 1869, the overland wagon routes began to pass into history. However, wagons and stage lines saw continued use of these trails as regional supply routes that spread out from the railroad line to cities not on the railways.
Great. I'm sitting in the right seat now.
Take the mud off with the trailer. The Cal Topo track followed the coordinates. I got that. Thank you.
find our own trail here for about a quarter mile, because the trail that was marked, the gate had been shut, permanently shut, because the creek is kind of rolling over into the roadway. So beyond the fence now, we found the trail, and we're getting the rest of the group up here. The most magical and unexpected experience of this entire trip was about to happen in this quiet back corner pasture of a private ranch. In a bit, we will be mentioning something about the historic Wine Cup Ranch. But before we got to the Wine Cup, on an adjacent ranch just to the north, driving along faint dirt ruts, we came across what is called Record Bluff. Here was a sandstone outcropping in which names and dates of immigrants have been chiseled and preserved despite 150 years of rain and wind and ice for us to view today. After spending some time searching on the internet for more information about Record Bluff and not finding any, our experience of this day seemed even more special. And here it was for us to discover and feel like we were the first people and generations to even know it existed. To cap it off, as we got back into the Jeep after taking a few pictures, we discovered the well-preserved petroglyph on the top of this cliff pictured here. And I wondered, who carved it? What did it represent? What was life like for the carver as he looked down on the grassy area below where our Jeeps were now parked? All too soon, it was time to venture on. While not directly on the Emigrant Trail itself, the ghost town of Metropolis was an interesting side trip nonetheless. During the second decade of the 20th century, the Pacific Reclamation Company intended to make the optimistically named Metropolis the center of a very large farming district. The company bought 40,000 acres of desert land in 1910 and hired a contractor to build a dam east of the planned city, wanting to use the reservoir for irrigation for the farms. The company built an amusement hall, post office, school, train depot, and a magnificent modern hotel, complete with electric generator, central heating, hot and cold running water in every room, and a railroad spur was even extended to the town site. Regular passenger service began in 1912. The population grew to nearly 700. Initially, the town seemed a success, but it faced serious problems. Since they had failed to obtain water rights, the downstream town of Lovelock, Nevada, sued and won. Because residents couldn't irrigate now, many tried dry farming. But after jackrabbits and crickets ate the wheat and several drought years ensued, Pacific Reclamation Company declared bankruptcy. By 1924, only 200 people remained. The amusement hall and hotel burned down. The last store closed in 1925, the post office in 1942, and by 1950, Metropolis was a ghost town. Steep ravine. Looks like this is the path right there that they took. Our dirt road goes up the ridge. Maybe some of them went up that way too, but camped at a little village, I'd almost call it, in Nevada, Unionville. And they said this road went up to some foundations of old gold camps and stuff. I saw one foundation so far. But what I have seen is a creek bottom filled with wild roses and some sort of a bush that's bloomed. It looks like it would have been a lilac bush, maybe. Just look at this scenery. Yeah, this is why I got a Jeep. So I could talk to myself while I video record. Now, this is why I got a Jeep, to explore new country. And now I'm going to put both hands on the wheel while I go up this steep road, just because it looks a little dicey. But yeah, I'll show you what's coming up at the top of the hill. Put the lockers in, and here we go. If I have to quit recording, it's because I'm getting scared. I don't know, recordings never show how steep a hill is. This is probably, that's about a 45, but everything just fell off the dashboard. So, I don't know, 30 degrees? Maybe 40. And we'll see what's up here. Maybe nothing but more mountains and sagebrush. But it is beautiful up here. By the way, Ariel, my Jeep dog, loves to follow after. After climbing this hill, her tongue's going to be hanging out about a mile long. But I got water in a water dish, so she'll be good. Okay, made it up that steep part. This isn't quite as steep. Still got the lockers on because it's loose material. I doubt this is a gold mining road. It's probably just going to be a road to the top of the mountain here. But when we get up there, we will see what we can see. So far, it's absolutely gorgeous. As I'm going up that steep hill, the view out my left window, driver's window, is of that granite mountain up there with all the colors. And the other side is more Nevada, sagebrush hills. Wildflowers are in bloom right now, blooming. It's just gorgeous up here.
Hey everybody, this is Ariel the Jeep Dog. Thanks for watching our video, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there.